Hey everybody, happy Sunday to you. Got Iron Fist for you today from Marvel Comics. Gonna be doing the original version of this bad boy. I'm not gonna do the new jumpsuit version because it's just not what I do. Um, I have nothing against it. I really like the new costume. It's just that I don't want to. Oh, sorry about that. Technical difficulty. Facebook almost shut me off. Um, But what I was saying was, I don't mind the new jumpsuit look. It's just I haven't had a lot of time to mess with it yet. So that's where we're at. But we're going to be drawing Iron Fist today. So, yep. Yeah, I went to share on my page, and Facebook offered to leave the video. So I was like, no, don't do that. That's not cool. So everybody likes these dark masks. You know, when this was created, when this character was created, it was funny because I did a lot of research on it, and when it came out, everybody thought it was um, a new Doctor Strange because he had the because Doctor Strange was trained in the Orient and whatnot, and he had this fin collar. When it came out, everybody thought that Doctor Strange had become a new superhero for a little while. Um, there were just all kinds of Marvel newsletters and stuff in the old renditions. Now, I didn't know that until I checked it out. But the comic archive shows in the back the editorial letters are actually asking if this is a new Doctor Strange character in secret, and if it's a new persona for him. I was like, really? You didn't read the book? But to each their own, you know. It is what it is. So I find that stuff highly amusing when things like that happen, because people get bent about stuff like that and they take it serious. And I mean, this thing was marketed for a good year before it came out, and it was pretty funny actually to see that going on. I wasn't around then, but you know, at least of age to read comics at that point. But because I believe he came out in the early '70s, because I've forgotten the date. But yeah, I could be mistaken about that. It could be a different time, but I'll have to look at the books again to see exactly when the first ones came out, because he came out not in his own solo series, but in Hero for Hire with Power Man, and he was mistaken for um, a villain at one point, which I thought was pretty cool. Not a lot of people know that, and normally when it comes out, it's just, you know, heroes meet up and butt heads, but he was actually mistaken for a villain, and I believe it was by Power Man that he was mistaken, had that mistaken identity issue. But yeah, it's interesting how these things play out, because I'm only now collecting some of those old, you know, the older books. I'm not going to say old, but the older books, because you know that's just where I'm at collector wise right now, because there's not, other than my own books, there's, and a few select independents, I'll put it that way. I don't collect a lot, and I've said that many times on here. I won't rehash it. It's just I'm not seeing much worthy of collecting right now, man. It's just not ringing my bell, man. It's messing with me. So yeah, as you can tell, it's the weekend. I'm laid back. Sorry. It's still me. Hey, I'm still normal, but just having a blast. Um, yeah, but yeah, this is cool, man. I really dig this character, and I don't know what you guys think of the. I don't know what you guys think. Hey, thanks, Tom. I appreciate that. Uh, I don't know what you guys think of the Defender series, but I'm only a few episodes in. No spoilers, please. But I'm only a few episodes in. But I'm actually digging it. It was a slow start, and I knew they were going to have to bring them all together. But it's actually coming across really good, as far as I can tell. As long as they don't screw it up. But Netflix hasn't failed me yet, other than the original Jessica Jones series, which I still have not made it through. Season 1, unfortunately, I just haven't. It didn't resonate with me, but I'll get there. Hey Larry, thanks for stopping by, man. I appreciate it. But we shall see what comes of the Defender series. Like I said, no spoilers or anything weird like that. I'm just gonna watch it and write it out. Please don't ruin it for me, because I know a few people have on social media already. But anyway, yeah, this is going to be cool. This is very clean, very simple, and I'm going to try to render this out as much as possible without choking the character. Hopefully that won't happen. While giving it the life it needs to shine here. And I'm giving him the original mask with the eye fins or wings, as some people call them, and really popping that off, because I dig that look. It looks gruesome to me. If you're going to have to go with wide eyes, you're going to have to black them out and cause that ridge to hold up. I mean, I do the same thing with Catman. For Catman Evolution, I do the same thing in all the characters that I have that have that white-eyed look, which I try to give them eyeballs more often than not, because I just like the emotional attribute that eyes give. If you're drawing comics, eyes and hands are the way to go. That's where the emotional centers are. And then, of course, you have the third of the trifecta, which is body language from the pose itself. So you have to be able to master all that stuff, or else you can't do it. So, yep. I'm the jokester and huckster in my family. So, if you guys are friends of mine, you know I do weird voices and stuff all the time when you get to talk to me. And if you don't, I'm sorry, this is your crash course. But, yeah, it's how I handle the tension. So, yeah, that's where we're going with it right now. Gonna knock out some black space under here for the old shadow. Everybody excited for the eclipse coming up this week? If you're afraid of getting your kids hurt by watching it, or you're afraid they're going to check it out and burn themselves, check out NASA. They have a nice setup on there, so you guys can go check it out. And yeah, he was in a bunch of those crossovers like that, Tom. But as far as the eclipse goes, just to finish that real quick, if you guys want your kids to watch the eclipse, or if you want to watch it yourself and you don't want to burn your old peepers out of your head, go over to NASA. You can Google their website, and it'll give you Google NASA plus eclipse, solar eclipse, and it will give you a website that's going to a live feed for a satellite that's pointed directly at the sun for the purpose of watching the eclipse tomorrow. So you don't have to get out in it or whatever. I mean, I'll be outside, but I'm not going to go look at the thing. And I'm not much one for the shoebox theory, so I mean, technology's so cool. You don't have to really worry about that anymore. But I mean, if you want to watch it physically happen and get dark outside, then be outside, but use your portable devices to check it out. That would be the recommendation that I suggest, to keep the kiddies from getting burned, so they can actually see it while they're out in the dark as it passes by. That's what we're going to do for my daughter, because she is going to be here with me tomorrow. So, but yep. We're drawing in the old fist here. We know what this is going to do. Got to leave room for those knuckles. And grab the side of that finger right there. Pull that down so we know where that's at. And wrap off the end of that thumb. Now, with this character, I really got into him in the with the middle of the Power Man IronFist series, and that ran through the late 70s, early 80s. I really got hooked into that, and when I was a little kid, and I came across it, and I just loved his green suit at the time, the green and yellow of this original suit here. I just got hooked on it, and I was all about must-have comic book of green guy, because it wasn't the Hulk, and I was really big into martial arts at the time, and especially even as a little kid, and I really wanted to have something that was unique, and this character definitely handled that in a top to bottom new way that a lot of the comics, especially superhero stuff, didn't. And everybody knows the X-Men were about handling racism in modern times and things like that, and that's what mutants were. They were the racist, target of racism, because they were the new hot topic of the time. Stan Lee said so. He put modern society at that point, because in the 60s, that's when most African American or black people, as they were coming up from all of the marches and all that, and he wanted to do something to reflect the modern time, and that's what he said the X-Men were. And I was just like, wow, yeah, I totally get that. I don't know that that's a proper representation for anybody, but it is, it is what it is. But I was looking for something when I was a kid. Everybody was talking about that when I was a kid, and I was just talking about, especially because they were doing the, what was it, the Mutant Registration Act stories, and beginning to touch on that at the time in the late 70s, early 80s, when I was born and a young kid in comics. The early 80s especially, they were talking about, the Mutant Registration Act and all that mess, and the Sentinels and all that garbage were coming back up. And I was just looking for something different other than the drama, because a lot of those stories were really phenomenal, but because you can't get into that political side of it as much, you got to stay away from that stuff, because it'll mess with your head. But specifically, everybody was trying to get the soap opera, giving more character type thing going on to the comic book characters, rather than giving them heroes versus villain stories. Even though they had some great arcs, they didn't have as much of the good versus evil type stuff. And Danny Rand as the Iron Fist was just flat out. He was the unshakable, unbreakable hero, period. And that's what he was about. And that's what made me resonate to that character so much. And, it just blew me away that he handled it the way he did in the comic book, and it was really well written and handled properly. But then when you had all the politics and stuff going on in comics, and then you had the soap, what I call the soapbox rendition, which is based off of soap operas, where they're trying to give them more identity and more individuality. Yeah, it's cool to have the comments and jokes and quips and all that, but the problem is when they get into that in comic books, where they break them down to the character, to where it's nothing but issue after issue after issue after issue of the character and the personality behind the mask, and it gets into realism, where you're getting to care about the person and not the story of the character. It's a waste of time. They got into that to where they had that love triangle with Rogue and Iceman, and well, it was Rogue, Iceman, and Gambit at one point, and it was funny because they made Iceman gay later, which is no big deal. I mean, that's a cool evolution for the character, but to know that ahead of time and see those traits and pick up on those triggers, it was funny to see that they went that far with his evolution and that storyline. Nothing against him being gay at all. It's just the fact that what I'm saying is the drama behind the soap opera type of personality breakdown, where it was all Rogue, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Every time you turned a page in the comic book, it was her dilemma of dealing with who she was and what she was about, and not being cool with evolving the character of Bobby. And she even blamed herself in the X-Men of, breaking his heart and messing him up or whatever. And I was like, you didn't mess him up. They wrote him to, they wrote her to be the cause of it for a little while, and Marvel had to back that one up because they were like, whoops, because they were about to tread on water of blaming Rogue for him turning gay, which that's not how that happens. So, but not to go too deep into that either. People just get weird about that stuff, and you don't have to. Don't bother with that. Don't keep comics simple. Tell the story you want to tell, and if you want to talk about the sexuality of a character, that's awesome. If you want to talk about the personality of a character, that's great. But not to where you burn it out to where everybody's like, these books suck because they're superhero books and nobody does anything, blah blah blah. Well, yeah, you stalled them out. They did that when Tony Stark. They made Iron Man that drunk for a while, when they made him drunk. And it was god awful to where it went, I think, something into 70 issues of him coping with that. And I mean, they went full out into his alcoholism and made him cope with it, patch it up. Rhodey even replaced him for a little while as Iron Man. And not as War Machine, but as Iron Man. And I mean, not just a fill-in, but took him out of the suit so that he could go into rehab. And they wrote a couple of issues where Tony was stuck in a rehab room. I found that just mind-blowing. And of course, I was a kid when those came out, so it really messed me up for a little bit. But I was just like, geez, come on, man. Lighten up. It's just comic books. But yeah, this character came out and really opened my eyes to what I wanted to do as far as my interest in martial arts, my interest in, cultures, and moving forward with what I wanted to do in my personal philosophies, even at a young age, So I always have a personal place for this one, which makes it really cool to follow, especially now with this new stuff coming on. I got to get back over here and get this arm done because I was trying to figure out where did I put the body parts there. I am trying to get lighter on my my layouts, and I'm trying to get more in depth with my rendering. So I've started laying the lines out, and I couldn't see where his arm was. So that's what I was flipping it around for, trying to figure out where the arm was so that I could shade that in. But gonna put some shading on this bicep right here. Pop that up a little bit. Hey, cool. All right. I think I've got him lined out there pretty good. Now I'm going to start in on these bandages. And what I'm going to do is, because these are athletic bandages, these are not formal wraps, but they were like elastic bandages that he would wrap his fist in because they would hurt. And he wanted to hide them from glowing, or so he said in the comic book. That's what they wrote him to have going on. I thought they were sashes when I was first starting out, but they have this weird elastic texture to them, so I'm going to go this way, all the way down first, and then I will do the crossing for the elastic stitching. But yeah, it's just, it came out as an awesome alternative hero and you had a typical wealthy, you know, out of pocket white kid just had his parents die in a plane crash. These monks took him in and raised him, and uh, he wasn't the privileged kid he was supposed to be when he was born. And I find that cool as just cool gets, because of the fact that it put him in a position to where he was going to have to go from the rich little white kid that had everything in his life from his millionaire parents down to fighting tooth and nail for his privileges of being able to eat. So, and not that we're going to go into the political mess if that's all over the news these days. I'm not doing that. So please don't ask, because I won't answer, because I am not going there. I don't believe in any of it. I have a standing on it, but I don't want to go into that. I don't get into politics or things like that publicly. And that's not why I'm talking about this character, just to get a sideline, because I did get a personal note on it just a second ago. And I don't want to get into that mess, so please refrain from that. But anyway, this young guy had to grow up and deal with a culture that saw him as an outsider, and he had to figure out how to survive. And that's where he earned the Iron Fist. He wasn't supposed to have it, but he fought the dragon and won, and ended up getting the power to protect the ancient village of Kunlun. Or, I'm sorry. No, it skipped my mind. Tom, you'll have to help point it out, man. Jeez. I can't believe I forgot it. I was talking and got sidetracked. I'll have to live with that one. But oh well. But anyway, he had to battle his way out of it. So I mean, if you're watching, the Netflix rendition, that's not that far off. Everybody says they don't like it, but it's weird, man. I mean, I just don't get why people freak out about it. And it just, I don't know. I've seen mixed reviews on it about people not thinking that this, that, and the other works and whatnot. I agree. Some of the choreography in the Netflix series Iron Fist, I believe I believe in that too. That some of the choreography is a little slow, and it looks like they could get off more punches than what they're actually doing. But bear with me just a second. I had to close that out. Sorry about that. Okay, thank you very much. Had somebody pop up and I had to shut that off because they were beeping in my ears here. I wear a headset when I do this, and they were beeping in my ears. So now I'm back. I apologize for that. You can tell it's a weekend. I'm a little more relaxed with this stuff and just jumping around. But yeah. Hey, Brian, glad you made it, man. I wish the con was going better for you out there, buddy. I saw your message that it was a little dry this weekend. That happens, man. But anyway, yeah, the Netflix stuff is looking pretty good to me right now, and I'm hoping it keeps continuing to get better. And I had heard that, the first couple of episodes of The Defenders was slow, and man, yeah, it was. But it's picked up. But again, no spoilers from me, and please don't post any spoilers in the comments. If you've already been through it, please don't. Run it for everybody else. Please respect that. But anyway, and I know I'm cross-hatching the heck out of this one now, and feathering it up, but I really want to get this practice in so I can see what I like with the toning and whatnot. All right, cool deal. I need to put a shadow back there behind his nugget so that we have all of that going on. Right in here. And right back here. I'm going to tone some of that out. There we go. Cool deal. I like it. I think I'm going to add a little whisker business here because I'm going to grab my 3 because he's never clean shaven in the comics, and I just want to kind of do a little bit of that. But yeah, this guy came out at the right time for me because when I was a kid and he came out, man, there was a lot going on with, like I said, all the mixed social stuff and just everything going on. And if it wasn't hardcore sci-fi or soap opera style, emotionally or politically driven, the comics just got really into a lull there in the mid 80s. And I mean, they had some good stories and whatnot, don't get me wrong. It's just that a lot of it, if it wasn't the superhero stuff, I wasn't interested because I didn't want the soapy stuff at that time. You know, now I like to read a little more mature stuff and I like to get into, you know, different personalities and stuff. But I find myself getting back to where I want to get back out to traditional good versus evil comic books and get back to the simplicity of it, because there's so many different variations on people telling their story of things now. It doesn't resonate with me anymore. I don't want to hear about the political or focused or emotional drama behind it. I just want an escape and have a good comic book, a good fun comic read. So that's where I'm at right now with my comics. And like I said, the reason I brought that up is because someone asked me about it and they want me to answer on the political stuff, and I'm not getting into that. I'm not getting into that mess. But anyway, and just to make him look like he doesn't wax or something and make it weird, I'm going to put, I mean, he's not really a hairy guy, but just to show that he's not like a grape smuggler, you know, in the swimming pool kind of thing. I'm going to put a little bit of hair here and there just because that's cool to me, because I don't want it to go smooth. But yeah, there you go. Got Iron Fist knocked out. I knew it'd be quick. Tomorrow for you guys, I have a really cool one. One of my absolute favorite characters. This dude, I don't care what anybody else says. Bring it if you're going to bring it. But I'm telling you, Moon Knight is a werewolf. He is an Egyptian cursed man with the empowered body of a werewolf. That's what he is doing. He is feral. He is the incarnation of a werewolf in a vampire style's body. Okay, that's the way that works. Just to touch on base for what's tomorrow, Moon Knight. They used to call him. It used to be a book called Wolf by Night, and he confronted a werewolf in that book, and I loved it. it was Marvel's version of the Wolfman. And that's where this character really piqued my interest, because he had the same powers and abilities, and his mask gets ripped, and there's this scene of his mouth, and he's grimacing, and he has fangs, and his eyes start to glow. So, you know, the dude is empowered with the body of that type of animal. So check it out. I still believe that to this day. I've seen too many things going on. You know, the old comic books from the 70s with him in it showed a lot of that stuff happening, and they just don't do that now. But check him out, and we'll be drawing him tomorrow for the Monday session, Moon Knight. Hope you guys dig this one. Thank you very much for hanging out with me, and talk to you tomorrow.